Welcome back to Whistler for our coverage of the opening race weekend of the 22-23 BMW IBSF Bobsleigh and Skeleton World Cup. After Thursday was Skeleton Day, this morning we saw a first-time starter win gold in the women's monobob. What is going to be the story for the two-man bobsleigh? We are ready to start the first of our two heats, and just a slight track delay because one of our forerunners has taken a tumble. I'm Martin Haven, fresh out of his sled as the first of our forerunners. Glad to have Chris Spring back in the booth. Chris, this will be the first time that anybody has come pumping with adrenaline straight from a sled into the commentary booth, but this place really grabs your attention as a driver.
Yeah, and there's no short of adrenaline when you're at the top of this track as well. As we see here, start record here by Beat Hefty and Thomas Lampater, and that was way back at the 2009 test event. Not sure if that's going to get touched today, but we'll see. I know that there's some big starters up there. And if you're just joining us for the first time today here, we're entering into corner 4, which is part of the Omega series of curves, into 5 here, and then 6 has been giving the girls a lot of trouble this morning, maybe with the guys as well today. We'll see some interesting exits of that curve as well. Out of 7 into this bend away, which is corner 8, which sets us up to this lower part of the track, which is very difficult. We have this huge 2-pressure corner in 11, 12. You have to master that in order to have any success there in Holke's 50-50 curve of corner 13. You see there the track record from Justin Cripps and Cameron Stone set at the 2019 World Championships here in Whistler, the last time we were here for a World Championship or World Cup event.
No, exactly right. And it wasn't planned that way, but of course we all know what's happened in the world in the last couple of years and made travel very difficult. So the start record from the first ever race, which was February 2009, the pre-Olympic trial, and the downtime record from, well, the last ever race that we had here. So Beat Hefty, long since retired, but Francesco Friedrich, who has won the World Championship on this track, he is back with us. Justin Cripps and Cam Stones, they set that track record in the Worlds, and Justin and Cam both announced their retirement during the course of the summer. Chris Spring has not retired, Chris, but with knee surgery that you're rehabbing, definitely that's the key element this winter for you, this summer as well, next summer, is to stay fit, stay healthy before you return.
Yeah, and that's a challenge that we all face as athletes, is being healthy and approaching that start line at full health, which is something that's very difficult to do for all these athletes that we see here today. And in fact, I was speaking to Hansi Lochner there as he was warming up, and he has a little bit of an ailment in his back from, believe it or not, making his bed a couple days ago. And he's experiencing quite a lot of pain right now and had some painkillers injected into him to make sure that he can start this race today.
From like tossing the duvet. I know Matthias Guggenberger went through months of back pain because he twisted his neck after clipping his head getting in and out of the car doors. I mean, sometimes it's just the bizarrest things. You know, you put your body through all this stress and just the tiniest little twinge doing something minor and domestic really can make a big difference.
Yeah, and the athletes, we're very aware of our bodies as well, and we know what we need in order for us to be performing at our absolute best. And those little things, you know, whether it's tossing the duvet incorrectly or getting out of the car, you know, with a little bit of a twist here and there, that can definitely, you know, throw you off at times, right? And so we're seeing that with Hansi today, and hopefully he can put his best foot forward here today and put down those impressive start times that we're used to seeing from him.
Few Swiss jackets there at the top of the track. The Swiss, one of the nations that have travelled here for the North American swing. Of course, you've got Canadians, we've got the USA, we've got Germany, got a sled from Team GB and a couple more as well in the field. Getting ready to open the two-man World Cup season here in Whistler. And after this, everything else is going to be just a fraction slower. Not necessarily any easier, but this is the fastest ice on the planet. Our first sled, Simon Friedli of Switzerland, with Andreas Haas breaking him. 37th World Cup start as a driver for Simon Friedli. He also started 16 two-man World Cups as a brakeman. 18th in the Olympic Games in February.
And Simon is a great push athlete here, obviously coming from the brakeman handles and transitioning to the front seat here. And it is his first time here on the Whistler track. And so competing in that North America's Cup earlier a couple weeks ago has definitely helped him and will pay dividends here for the World Cup race.
Yeah, last time he raced here was in the Worlds in 2019, but he was at the back with his face pressed down in the sled, which is a whole different ball game. So Andreas Haas makes his 9th two-man World Cup start. We get our season underway with the Swiss. Let's see what they can do. Start record 4.70. A Swiss slider held that 4.85. That's not a bad start.
Yeah, it's a solid getaway for these two, and a good exit out of one. A little bit of a tap on that right-hand wall, but the main thing is they were straight and parallel. When I say parallel, I mean parallel with the short wall, so that the back end of the sled is following the front end of the sled. And that's really important for speed here. Bit of a skid there out of 6, but he manages it well here in 7. Falls out with a little bit of pressure, but handles that really nicely, and he's putting together a very good run.
122 kilometers an hour, 71 miles an hour, accelerating really quickly down here.
And a nice exit of 12. You see he stays long on that curve to miss all of that entrance ice so he doesn't get pushed away. Let's see if he can top that 150 kilometers an hour.
150.7. That's a pretty impressive speed, 93.6 miles an hour. There's nowhere else on the planet you get those sort of numbers. St. Moritz is about as close as we get in Europe.
So we see the downtime there, 51.65. It's a little bit off the track record, but we're not seeing the conditions that we had at those 2019 Worlds.
Yeah.
I think this is a good time that will stand up pretty well here with the competition, but like most bobsleigh races, it's always going to be close.
Usually is. It'll flop early on, it puts him into a skid, and all of that takes away some of that precious start speed.
Yeah, and you see as he comes out here, 7, he's on that right wall, gradually drifting over to the left, but he does a good job here taking that bump, which sets him nice into 9, and that's the kind of line that we want going into 9, and the coaches look really happy with that.
Rico Peter, big smile on his face. It was always hard to read his mood, wasn't it?
Yeah, as a driver and as well as a coach.
Yeah, it doesn't make it. Yeah, big beaming grin or just deadpan flat. So Siegmund Friedli gets the season underway. And a 51.65 run for him. Hansi Lochner then, his 50th World Cup start in two-man. 32-year-old Olympic silver medalist last time out. Has had mixed results here. 4th in the race in 2016. 20th in the race in 2017.
Yeah, and it looks like he's moving really well there, and so hopefully that warm-up did him well. And 4.83, wow. Yeah, that's an impressive start time, especially under the conditions with him being a little bit injured, not feeling 100% coming into this race.
New brakeman on the back, Eric Bruckert, only his 2nd two-man World Cup start, raced in Sigulda in January of this year with Hansi for the very first time.
Yeah, it's a nice line in 6. You see he's parallel, straight. The sled isn't washing around there on the exit of 6. Nice exit of 7, riding that short wall all the way into 9.
Well, good speed as well. 2700s up, and that will increase out to 4/10.
Oh, he's getting a little tap there. Just not working hard enough in 12. And, you know, the Germans had some problems in training earlier this week and a little bit last week. And he got away with that one.
Yeah, didn't he? Used a get out of jail free card there. 51.15. He will have known all about that. Now, I'm not sure whether Eric was in the sled when he rolled over at the beginning of free training, of paid training, but he may not know how close they got there. I guess the brakemen have a pretty good instinct for it after a while, though.
Yeah, definitely if the sled goes quiet, that's when the brakemen know to get a little bit lower. And you see there, he's high in 12. He doesn't have enough pressure to carry him around the corner. So he's pushed away on the exit entrance of 13. And you see he's working really hard. Look at those runners. Mm-hmm. They are full lock, like you were saying before, bow and arrow style, coming out of 13.
Yeah.
Yeah, all smiles there from Hansi. He knows he got away with one.
He does, doesn't he? Yeah, that's sort of sheepish grin. Okay. Next up then, 41st World Cup race for Marcus Treichel in a two-man. 11th in the World Championships here, his last senior level race here. But he has not raced before or since on this track. Christian Huber behind him, the 25-year-old brakeman. His 10th World Cup start, former decathlete. Made his debut back in January 2019 in the two-man.
And after the retirement of Benny Meyer last year at the end of the Olympic Games here, a lot of the hopes are now resting on the men's program here on Marcus and his team.
Bobsledding family, his mum and dad are part of the organisation crew at Innsbruck in Austria.
Nice start time, 4.88. And again, talking about that straight parallel exit of these top curves. And Marcus actually has been driving really well these last couple of weeks. I've been really impressed with the lines that I've been seeing on the track, the occasion time that I am on the track coaching. And Marcus has always been coming down with nice, smooth lines. Pretty high there, though, on the exit of 7. You see that skid. I've got the curse, the commentator's curse.
Well, mate, 7 and 11, 7 and 11 have been the key corners all week, haven't they?
No troubles here down 12-13 in this difficult section, but he does lose a lot of time up the top there, late into 16. And he's working hard here to try and salvage a run here. 5900s back. He will be disappointed with that, especially with the good training runs he's had this week.
Interesting in 13, he was very low, almost kind of avoided the corner entirely, so must have been working really hard in 11 and 12.
Yeah, and he had a lot of time in 13 as well, and sometimes that can be a bit of a curse.
Yeah.
Because you feel that you have all this time and you can take it out a lot sooner, and then you are on that lower line with pressure coming out of the sled. But yeah, we do see the disappointment there on Marcus's face. He is high here coming around the exit, not with enough pressure in the sled, and that's why it falls out, goes into this skid, and thankfully that short wall there is there to straighten him up a little bit, but that's not good for speed. Here we see late into 16, you know, the brakemen here at the bottom of the track, they're experiencing 5, 6 Gs. And if you go late like that, let's just add another half a G on top of that too.
Yeah, if they're not bent double before, they certainly are when they get out. So Marcus Treichel, third of our 3 sleds. It's Hansi Lochner who leads as we come to Brad Hall, finished tied for 4th place in the World Championships here in 2019 in the 2-man. The 32-year-old now making his 43rd World Cup start, and Royal Marine Big T, Taylor Lawrence, 2nd time they've ever managed to fit Big T into a 2-man sled in his World Cup career.
A little bit swirly out of the grooves there. 4.78 though, a very impressive start time, and the velocity as well, fastest velocity we've seen. Brad's been here all week training. He was here for the North America's Cup races, so he has a lot of time on the track. We're expecting some nice, clean lines from Brad here in the race.
Turned 32 9 days ago. And check out the social media content from IBSF to see what the Team GB boys do in preparation for their headshots. You will lol. So I believe the kids don't say any longer. 400s up on Johannes Lochner.
Yeah, and we're going to see him pull away here at the bottom because Hansi did have a little bit of trouble there in that 50-50 corner, and Brad's nice and straight here at the bottom, and he's going to open that lead. Yeah, there we go, 1100s and 152.7 kilometers an hour.
Graham Richardson back in harness for Team GB. Apparently the hair products deal was better than the Canadians. Good offer. So 152, that's 94.8 miles an hour. Sounds, okay, not for Canadians, but for Brits, it sounds a little more manageable if you say 152 kilometers an hour, because we don't really know what that means. 95 miles an hour, we get that.
And we see this start here, 2 big boys. Taylor is a big guy getting in the back there. And as you see, as he loads in, a little bit of unsteadiness in the sled. Brad does a great job there of getting that under control. And his exit of 13 there, nice and straight, no problems at the bottom. They'll be happy with that.
3 2-man silver medals and a bronze in Brad's career so far. No wins yet. But you sense that this team is coming firing on all 8. Now, Michael Vogt next up for Switzerland. He was driving with Simon Friedli, who's his driving teammate here, in the back of the sled last time we raced here in 2019. Michael and Simon finished in 13th spot. Now he's got Sandro Michel behind him. Sandro has shared all of the medals in 2-man with Michael Vogt. And Michael was here for the North America's Cup races a couple of weekends ago, won the first of the 2-man encounters, so he should be feeling pretty comfortable on this track by now.
Yeah, unfortunately, Mickey crashed in the 2nd of the NAC races, so he does have that going into this race, but he's a champion, you know, and he will be able to put that aside and know that he has the ability to put down good, solid lines into this World Cup race. Just a little bit off the pace, but that's all just due to the start time, and he'll be trying to eat that up on the way down the track here.
You talked about how close it's likely to be. 4 or 5 hundredths in it, out to 800. 700ths of a second is the blink of a human eye.
It's really important here in 12 that he gets the nose down, and he does, with pressure in the sled to stay long. These are really nice lines, and he'll be very close to Brad at the bottom of the course here.
Funny, isn't it? When you get it right going onto the turn, how easy it looks. It's all about the timing, like everything else. 51.23, and that leaves him in 3rd spot behind Hansi Lochner, but ahead of Seaman Friedli.
And we still have a few big sleds to come here, which can definitely shake up the order, as well as Canada's Taylor Austin with Shaq Murray-Lawrence in the back, and they'll be looking to definitely make some waves here for their first ever World Cup race on home soil.
We have all 3 two-man Olympic medalists from Beijing in February in the field. We've seen Hansi Lochner, who took the silver. We've still got the Olympic champion to come, and Christoph Hafer, the bronze medalist. I want to see how Frankie Del Duca does here from the USA as well. Really came into the end of last season with the sled absolutely on fire. Brad Hall is our current leader from Hansi Lochner and Mikkel Vogt.
And this American team, they've been together for a few years now, chopping and changing a little bit with Brakeman, but for the most part, they've been solid teammates. And I know that Frankie was really excited with the way he drove here for the North America's Cup. And going into this race, he's going to want to be taking some scalps and being on that podium.
We talked about Taylor Lawrence of Team GB being a big unit. So too is Hakeem Abdul Sabur. You know, he's a little bit like King. He's 35 years of age, the body of a 25-year-old, if that. He's an absolute monster. 3rd World Cup start in two-man for Frankie Del Duca, 31 years old.
Let's see what they can produce here. I'm really excited to see this push time. You know, they've always been pushing fast numbers. 485. It's another good getaway, and I know that they'll be gunning for a few more hundredths on the exit. The exit of 1 there, they're a little bit sideways, but he's managing it well, and hopefully he's putting down, you know, his best performance here, as he knows that these World Cup races are really important to get those points moving forward into the season.
700 back from leader Brad Hall at the start. It's out to 12. We'll be closer to 2/10 with that flop.
Yeah, this isn't the greatest run from Frankie here. He's going to be a little disappointed when he gets to the bottom. But like I was talking earlier today, if you were there for the women's race, you have to put those. Oh, this could be dicey. Oh, he's over.
Hakeem hanging on inside the sled. And he talked about the G-forces a couple of runs ago. Whether you're the right way up or upside down, the G-forces are still trying to haul you out of the sled. So Frankie kind of hanging on, but in the back, Hakeem is trying to support 2 or 3 times his own body weight and hang on to tiny little metal rings inside with maybe 2 fingers on each hand.
And we see here good pictures of the athletes here getting out of the sled. Looks like they're unscathed for the most part, and the medic, the track crew here, they do a great job of hooking that sled, making sure that it doesn't go backwards all the way down into 16, and they don't have to endure that ride any longer.
Well, you get rattled around in the sled, you get bumped up and down on the ice, you get really badly shaken, particularly at the sort of speeds we're doing here.
So as he comes out of 11 here, it's not too bad. A little early into 12. He just doesn't do enough here in corner 12. So he comes out early, he taps before 13, and he really has no chance now. He's got to work hard to get the sled on and off the corner in such a small amount of time. And look how much he's really working with that steering, and it just, it almost wants to get there, but there's some big boys in that sled, and the inertia, it just keeps pushing them over.
Coach Brian Scheimer, he knows what that's all about. There's not many people in the field that haven't experienced a crash in a bobsled. It's like getting thrown by a horse. It is part and parcel of the sport, and it does happen.
Yeah, it's disappointing to see, and I'm sure that they'll be licking their wounds and wanting to come back and put a good show on for the 4-man race tomorrow. Now, they did cross the finish line, so there is an opportunity for them to do a second run, and
Yep.
I would not be surprised if they're up there for that second run.
I think, in their heads, unless physically they're advised not to or told not to, I think they'll want to go straight back up and go again, because you don't want to go to bed with the last thing you did having the sound of ice on the helmet. So I'm sure they will. With only 10 sleds in the field, traditionally the top 20 in any field get to go a second time. And so if you cross the line with both men or all your crew in the sled, then you are allowed to go again. 5-minute track hold. Again, that will sort of knock on down the queue a little bit. If there's anybody who's unlikely to be enormously affected by a 5-minute track hold, it will be our next driver, Francesco Friedrich. Been there, done that, seen a few laps around the block.
Yeah, and this is standard, well, I shouldn't say standard procedure, but for him, nothing really would phase him. He's been around, like you said, for a long time, and he's done it all. He's been at the highest level, winning the highest of accolades with the most immense pressure on him. And so just another day in the sled for him and his brakeman, Alexander Schuller, today.
Well, and Alexander Schuller now, quote, a real bobsledder, because in the 3 seasons that he spent with Francesco Friedrich, he's never felt anything other than wind on his head. And in the first week of paid, or first day of paid training, all 3 German drivers rolled it off corner 12. And so, Alex was saying the other day, now I'm a real bobsledder, according to the other guys.
Yeah, it's quite the elite club that you're in when you haven't crashed a sled, haven't been in a crash. And actually, brakeman from Canada today, Jacques Murray Lawrence, also joins the club of being an elite or a real bobsledder.
A real bobsledder.
Yeah, after his first crash in his first 3 seasons.
Well, Lee Johnson, evening Lee, always used to say to me, hey Martin, you can get in the sled anytime you like with us, we need a roll bar. So, yeah. And you can see the tall figure of Torsten Margus in the multicoloured cap, the figure further away from us. A regular 2-man brakeman, but he was saying that the plan for him and for Francesco is to do this quad, but Torsten will do the quad as a 4-man brakeman and predominantly not in the 2-man, which has been kind of him and Alex Schuller swapping around between them for the last couple of seasons.
Yeah, and a lot of teams don't have that luxury as well of having 2 greats that can be as competitive as each other.
And that are there every week. I mean, this is one of the key things. It's, it's great to be powerful and fast and fit in the sled and get on with the team and everything else, but to not get injured, that is one of the greatest things any athlete can hope for.
Yeah, and sharing those duties helps with that as well. And that way they're not getting banged up so much, and they know that, hey, I just have to race the 2-man this week with the 4-man as well, and then next week I get it off. And that's a really huge help for this team, and part of this reason why they've had so much success.
And that's that's how you use an alternate. If you need 3 brakemen, you bring 4, so you can always rotate guys around. And the same with the female athletes, keep them race fit, but also make sure they get a little chance to rest up. Getting the race back underway then with our multiple Olympic champion, Francesco Friedrich. Last time he raced on this track, he was the world champion, or he became the world champion again, and he remains the world champion. He is the Olympic champion, and he is also the World Cup champion. Justin Cripps ran him close in the title race last year for the World Cup crown, but it was Francesco who triumphed, and in St. Moritz claimed his 100th career World Cup medal.
Wow, what a stat.
2- and 4-man, 66 wins in 2- and 4-man, and 62 2-man medals. He is just the most astonishing, and that's before we get into World Championships, Olympic Games, and everything else. So that is just World Cup medals.
I'm excited to see this start time. The guys are raring to go. See Friedrich there. He wants to go. The horses are ready.
Yeah, and don't think that they don't know what the start time is and how close they're getting. They target everything every time they get in the sled. 477.
Yeah, great getaway.
Yeah.
It even makes the getaway from the British team just as impressive with a 478 here, because we know that Schuller and Friedrich are top of the class at the start.
Absolutely. So in the green from the start by 100th out to 600s up. Little tap there though.
And these lines are pretty good here. Coming out of 7, get that nice push away into 9, and let's hope that he's got it nice and clean and under control here in this difficult part of the course here. Pushed away in 12. A little tap there.
Oh boy. That's as late as you want to be.
And he's going to lose a lot of time here. He's 800ths up, but it's going to come down to the 100th here.
Wow, it is 100th of a second ahead of Brad Hall. Wow, and again, you know, that makes Brad Hall and Taylor Lawrence feel good because they know they had that skid right at the start when the speed is at its absolute lowest. They bled away some of that initial start speed.
Yeah, exactly. So they know that they have some more to give in the second heat.
But they will have seen that big mistake in 11 and 12 again, and they'll know that he'll come back. It's not often, Friedrich, he does occasionally make the same mistake twice, but you have to write it in the diary when he does.
See here, so he's early on, pushed away, and see the height here in 12, he's really high, not enough pressure in the sled, pushed away in 13, and then we see these pictures. They're going to be great here on the exit of 13. Look at this. Look at how much he's working to get this sled off of the corner. Look at that steering. Wow.
You don't often see that much effort from Francesco Friedrich. That was a save. That was a big save.
Yeah, and he's going to know that too. And so going into the second run, just like Brad and Taylor, they know that they have more to give in the second run.
It was that flop. He was late in 10 already, and when that happens, you know within a second and a half you're going to be in trouble on the exit of 13, and so it was. Well, now then, here is another very new newcomer. Cedric Follador, second World Cup start, turned 28 last Friday. And his only previous race in the front of a sled in two-man was in La Plagne in France in January 2020. Mariana Nicola behind, and Nicola Mariana behind him, his second World Cup start as
he's got
well.
some difficulty getting in there. Needs to get that push bar down. Wow. These are the things that can happen here. We've got big guys trying to get into this such a small spot, and we're doing it as fast as possible. And he's recovered really well here, but his velocity, his start velocity, really hampered by that difficult load that he had.
Big height there as well early on. And for me, this is the toughest thing of this, is that you've got to instantly blank out that sort of burning frustration of the start, because you've got to focus on where you're going.
Yeah, exactly. It's kind of like a golfer, you know, you put your drive into the water or into the sand, and you got to put that one behind you and focus on the next shot. And I think that Cedric's done a great job of that since that mishap at the start. That's just really unfortunate that he's this far back, because he did drive very well after what happened there at the top of the track.
The only difference is golf, you've got plenty of time to think about your next shot, and you can walk up to where the ball is, and you're not doing 150 kilometers an hour. And you know, that's the thing, you're sort of this all-out ball of aggression, and then you have to be a zen calm the moment you sit down. And that transition just always amazes me that people can ever do it, never mind all the time.
So we see here as he's about to jump in, his left foot here just gets clipped, on the side of the sled. And he's really working hard and as fast as possible to get in there. And good thing he didn't hit any of the walls there going into one. He did a great job of saving it.
And you know that's going to gouge his leg. And you know, half the time you get away with that. Just occasionally, though, he'll have pulled something and it'll be burning. He looks like he's okay. There he is. Yeah, he looks like he's okay. But, you know, you talked about your knee and not trying to do anything weird with it, and Hansi's back, making the bed, for goodness sake. I'm sure that's a euphemism for something, but anyway, yeah, it can go horribly wrong in a hurry. This then is our Olympic bronze medalist in the two-man from Beijing in February, Christoph Hafer, 30 years old now. And out of his previous 15 World Cup starts in two-man, 9 of them have been in Sigulda or Innsbruck. So not the world's most experienced in terms of different tracks. I think in 15 races now, this is only his 6th different track.
Yeah, and very unusual to have our Olympic bronze medalist, our current reigning Olympic bronze medalist, never had been to this track, never had a World Cup start here at this track.
Little tap early on, and what we're probably going to see here given his experience and his ability, is his lack of experience here and all the little errors.
Yeah, exactly. And they might not seem like a lot at the time, but these small errors, little skids here, little taps, they definitely add up, and especially at the top of the track. We did see that from Christoph here leading into this first round. Yes.
Everybody's taking that little late flop off 7. Here we go. Not too bad.
Yeah, nice lines there through 12, 13. He's going to have good speed here at the bottom. He's had great speed all week.
Now, if you're the coach, you don't put him on the fattest, fastest runners for his first race in Whistler. You make sure he gets down. You give him just a little bit of control. 51.29, because you're going to do more damage by sending him fast into a crash than you are by taking a little bit of speed out of the sled. Top 5 result. Yeah, you'll take that every day of the week. Your first race weekend in Whistler.
Yeah, and it was a good drive, especially with, you know, he's starting there 8th fastest and coming down in 5th fastest. Anytime you're improving from your start number, you're really happy with that, especially as a debut on your World Cup at this track, this very difficult Whistler sliding center track.
Still relatively inexperienced at this level in the World Cup. This is only his 16th start. His brakeman, Matthias Sommer, only his 6th two-man World Cup start. So they'll feel a little more relaxed going into the second heat. And now in his second World Cup start, Taylor Austin from Canada, 32 years old. Made his debut in St. Moritz, the final World Cup race of the season last year. 2 bronze medals in the North America's Cup races a fortnight ago and 2 golds in the 4-man. So you're pretty hot on this guy, Chris Spring.
Yeah, and he's driving the sled that I drove at the Olympic Games actually here. So it was new to him this season, and he only jumped into it a couple weeks ago. So he's still trying to figure out, you know, its personality, the few quirks and kinks that it has. But he's got a good handle on it, and he has a very good hands, especially here on this track.
Shaq, Murray Lawrence behind him, 29 years old, also making his second start. He too was a debutant in St. Moritz. 487, that's a good getaway, isn't it?
Really impressive for these two to go into the 80s there, and it's a good start time for them. They'll be really happy with that, really impressive. And we see here the amount of runs that Taylor has on the track. You're going to see it in some nice lines down the track here. Nice rainbowish type line in 6, coming into 7, not too early, nice and high, but with pressure. Coming out on that left wall, this is textbook stuff. For you guys watching at home, this is how to do it.
Nice smooth exits, no flops. Ooh.
Yeah, a little late there, but handles it well.
Yeah.
Coming out of 13 very nice. He would have scrubbed a little bit of speed, but let's see what the top speed is here at the bottom.
Pretty close to 150. 151.1 and 6th place. That's a good run.
It's a great run. Only 4100s back, and off of that start time, they're doing a great job here to be in the hunt for some medals.
Again, as we said with Christoph Harfer, you know, top 6, first race of a new quad, absolutely. All right, maybe for him this is less intimidating fractionally than it is for some of the others, but even so, you know, this is the start of his first full season as a World Cup driver, so he knows he's got a lot of pressure on him on his shoulders.
Yeah, and with the retirement of Justin and with myself taking some time away to rehabilitate some injuries here, there is a lot of weight on his shoulders to carry this men's program. And he's done a fantastic job here with Shaq in the back. And, you know, Shaq was a football player there playing in the CFL and also for the University of Las Vegas in his college career. And he's no stranger to pushing fast.
Yeah, no stranger to having CFL athletes in the back of Canadian sleds either. It's a happy hunting ground. No stranger to the top of the pile either at the end of our first heat. Francesco Friedrich and Alexander Schuller, they lead by the enormous margin of 1/100th of a second over Great Britain's Brad Hall. Hansi Lochner well in contention, 1200ths back, he could win here. Mikkel Vogt 2/10ths back. And then Harfer, 2600s back in 5th place. He could easily be in the medals. This track is quick and tricky, and we could well see a shake-up in the order in our second heat. The good news is that everybody seems to be down safely and out of their sleds with no major dramas. And so all of our 10 sleds safely across the line, and they, I'm sure, will all go in the second heat. Frankie Del Duca and Hakeem Abdul Sabor hopefully will be fit and okay to go. And And that is it for the first of our two heats and the two-man bobsleigh World Cup season opener. We will be back with the second and deciding heat at 1600 local, 1900 Eastern, and that is midnight Greenwich Mean Time. Join Chris Spring, me, Martin Haven, and the IBSF TV crew for all the action then. Until then, bye for now.
Roger, Mike.